Hello, welcome back. If you've watched any of my videos, you'll know what this is like. But here I am to talk about one of the shows that kind of changed my life just at the right time. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worst. And it is Dexter, starring Michael C. Hall. I first discovered this just around about the time season 6 was due to come out. So, I had seasons 1 to 5, somebody had downloaded them and given them to me and said, watch this show. And for some reason, for about 2 years, I just didn't do it. And just one day, I was single, bored, and on the surf. It was like pre-Netflix, or if it was around, I didn't have it. So I was watching what people had downloaded me, and I thought, I'll give it a go. So I watched the first episode, and boy, is it like an amazing show. Like something about it, I don't know if it's the Miami setting or the colours or the theme tune, but everything just seems to work in this show. Right from the get-go, you were introduced to Dexter, a very private man who is hiding something very sinister inside, and you get to find out about that very early on. Anyways, if you've seen Dexter, you know how it ends. If you haven't, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to rank all of the seasons, in my opinion, from worst to best. So, my least favourite season is season 6. Season 6 goes down the religious route of sinister behaviour and murderers, how they can use the power of religion to justify their actions and their crazy behaviour. The reason I didn't like this one is because the ball had already been dropped with season 5, and with this one, this becomes directionless. Characters become unlikable, the special effects become terrible. I hate to say it, but Colin Hanks in this, man, he is so bad. I just remember thinking, like, how can you go from the Trinity Killer to this and expect people to be as invested as there was in John Lithgow's performance as Arthur Mitchell? How is this an improvement? Because to give something of a lesser quality, which is what we got here, we got some ridiculous storylines. We get Deborah falling in love with Dexter, and this weird cliffhanger ending that people must have complained about because it just gets dropped. The love aspect from Deb. I mean, Dexter's a half-brother. Not even a half-brother. He's just whatever he is. Step-brother, found brother. He's not really blood-related. Adopted brother. But they've grown up together, you know, the brother and sister. Season 6, not good. Redeeming factors of season 6. The double kill in the first episode with the 2 ambulance drivers sticks in my mind. And that is pretty much it. I was burnt out. I didn't like it. So it's going here as the worst season of Dexter. Now, for me, season 8 is the next worst. They tried to shoehorn in some doctor, I can't remember her name, some doctor that had apparently helped raise Dexter and teach him the ways and stop him from being a murderer, or hiding the fact that he's got this dark passenger that by this point of the show you are so sick of hearing. Like, they're making being a murderer almost justifiable, and like he's become this superhero, and the show ends badly as well. Like, look, spoiler alert, Dexter, Deb dies. Dexter survives, but not in a good way. Like, there is just something so unsatisfying with the ending of Dexter season 8. Like, the killer that is in it, which is her son, I believe. Like, how many killers are there in this show? Like, everyone's just killing everybody by this point. It's crap. It's crap. But it's not as crap as season 6. Okay. Next for me is season 5. Now, with the amazing season of season 4, with the Trinity Killer, season 5 was always going to struggle to try and recaptivate the audience. We had the pinnacle there. I talk about this all the time. This is like, season 4 is like the end game, the Marvel end game. And then it's like, we can't top ourselves because what they did with season 4 is phenomenal. I use that word so much because it is. It's the 4th season. And you're more invested at this point than you are in season 1. And that's how a show should be. You shouldn't be wishing for it to end. You should be salivating. Reason season 4 is so good, I will talk about later. But season 5, we're introduced to Lumen, played by Julia Stiles, which is a new temporary love interest. The problem with it was, I watched season 1 to 5 back to back. Now, if you get that year gap in between, maybe you'll be satisfied with watching season 5. You've got Johnny Lee Miller as the killer. They're killing girls and putting them in vats of acid. And that's a fine storyline. But it's no follow-up to what we've just had with the Trinity Killer. The Trinity Killer and what has happened between Dexter and the Trinity Killer is not recaptured in this. It's like a new turn. We've got to accept that certain cast members are gone, like Rita. And it's just thrown straight back into Dexter killing again, justifying his actions, and I'm done by this point. I'm done. It's like, why have you continued this show? Like, you're not bringing us anything new, besides the fact that he has to be a father and look after Harrison. He loses the 2 kids of Rita's because obviously they're not his, so those disappear as well. So like, if you grew any attachment to these people, they're all gone. The writers and creators want you to just forget about those people because we're moving on. I can't do that, I'm afraid. And season 5 really suffers in terms of writing, quality and fatigue. So that's why season 5 goes here. Next. This is tricky now, but I'm going to go with season 3. With the wonderful season of 2, we get thrown into season 3. The Bay Harbor Butcher storyline's kind of been buried a little bit. And we're introduced to Jimmy Smits, who plays a fine villain counterpart to Dexter. But the killer aspect of season 3 is put to the back. It's some tree cutting guy that you don't really get introduced to like you do with Arthur Mitchell, the Trinity Killer, who I always bring up. Or Hannah McKay. She's great. We'll talk about her very soon. So season 3 kind of drops the ball. We lose Dokes and we get him replaced. We get Dokes replaced with Quinn, who is a love interest for Deborah. Dokes was too big of a character to be able to just replace. Quinn is so mediocre as a replacement that when he gets airtime, you're not interested in it. It's just not very good. So season 3, and Debs is in a relationship with some dude, and by the end of it, she's not. So yeah, season 3, it's not as good as the rest. So it's still watchable, still likable, but it's a step down from season 1 and 2. Next for me is Dexter's The New Blood. This could have been fantastic. The time gap of 10 years was great. But what we are thrown into is more of the same. As in, Dexter's son arrives, Harrison, and we're supposed to care about him. He's a lot older, but we just don't. I don't. He's annoying. Dexter has got a perfect little quiet life and things are going fine, but then a murderer shows up and you get more of the same of what you've seen before, and maybe that's what people wanted. But the way the show gets wrapped up by killing Dexter, his son kills Dexter, and it could have been so much better. Angel is on the case with Dexter. Why not Angel, who has a reason to kill Dexter, because a personal reason, because he knows him and he knows how he betrayed him. But no, we get Harrison, who we are just introduced to in this season, and we're supposed to have the same dynamic, the same care for what could have been if Angel would have done it, or if anybody from the first seasons would have come and killed Dexter. And it just lacks. It had the potential to be such a great show, but Harrison gets way too much airtime. Dexter has been away for too long to treat him like this. And for me, it's not as good as the rest. It was a bold attempt, but not enough. Next for me, because this is where the good seasons are coming in, is season 7. This tries to restore what season 6 damaged, which was the reputation of where the show was going. It brings it back by deleting the Deborah loving Dex storyline, because that just wasn't washing with people. I can only assume that. And it's like, you know what, we've had a think, and we're going to introduce a new actual potential love interest, and that's Hannah McKay. Hannah McKay is interesting because, one, she's beautiful, and two, Dexter actually seems to have feelings for her. This inept, emotionless man who seems to not care about anything suddenly has desire in his eyes. There's attraction beyond anything you've seen before with Dexter. The passion. He wants to learn more from her. He wants to make love to her. He wants to be with her. You can feel like there's emotion developing in Dexter. He is a father now, and he seems to be passing his kid on to a babysitter in every episode. Like, how he can afford to pay for a babysitter and go to work. Like, you're supposed to suspend your disbelief by this point. Now, the good parts is the Ukrainian gay love story, The Gangster. I think that this is great. It's wrapped up very early, which is a different kind of tack for this show. As in, we don't have a villain of the show, of the season. It's just a part of it, and I kind of enjoyed this aspect of it. I thought this show's coming back on the up, and unfortunately we got given season 8, and I've already mentioned how bad that one was. So this is kind of hard, but I'm going to go with season 1, and the reason for it is it's great. It does introduce us to these characters, but it's not until season 2 where I am absolutely blown away. However, it's great. I've watched this season 2 to 3 times, and I find each time I watch it, I get something different. I do feel like the fact that the murderer in this season is his birth brother, I find that a little bit far-fetched, to be honest. And I think the writing improves with season 2. And that is the season I'm going to go on to next. Season 2. Season 2 is one of my personal favourites because all the elements from 1 have been explored, and it's now all eyes are on Dexter. The reason that this season is not my number 1 season is because of Lila, I can't remember. It's that annoying British actress who loves to take her clothes off in everything she's in, and in this season she is disturbingly annoying. Like, you can feel that Dexter has had enough of her once he's made love to her and cheated on Rita with her. The viewer is left wanting her gone. Like, she's just vile, and she's the weak link in the show because the Bay Harbor Butcher storyline is so good. By the end of season 2, you're not knowing how they're going to wrap this up. Dexter is going to get caught. Dokes is onto him. The only way they can end this season is by killing Dokes, because he knows that Dexter is the Bay Harbor Butcher. But at the time, I couldn't see it coming. And I thought, is Dokes going to keep this secret? But no, he gets killed. Phenomenal season 2. Like, it's so good. It makes you feel panic. Worry. You worry for Dexter. You don't want him to get caught. This show's just kicking off. The Bay Harbor Butcher storyline would have been great as like a finale season, but they use it straight away in season 2, and it works well. Now, my number 1 season, if you haven't guessed, is season 4. I'm going to list the reasons why it's so good. Okay, we're at our 4th season. We realise there's a bit of a trend happening, and that is there are killers in this show, and we're introduced very early on to a celebrity killer, like a guest appearance of John Lithgow. Now he plays Arthur Mitchell. It's a name I've already mentioned. He plays him spectacularly. Like, you believe that he is a complete and utter psychopath because you see it, but then he's also a family man. This season is almost flawless. The only weak link in this season is he has a daughter that is a reporter, and she's a journalist, and she's kind of working for him, that he just doesn't care for. That's a bit far-fetched. Now let's go back to the good bits. He's classed as the Trinity Killer. The reality is he actually kills 4 people, but they have labelled him the Trinity Killer because the pattern of behaviour is that he kills 3 people in this specific certain way, in this specific time, and he repeats these killings because when he was a child, he witnessed something that traumatised him. Now Dexter wants to learn from Arthur Mitchell, so he pretends to be somebody called Carl Butler. This is all from memory because I love this season. And John Lithgow's character, Arthur Mitchell, is hiding behind this like foundation that builds things, this charity organisation, but the reality is he is one sick puppy. Like, you get to witness some bludgeonings with a hammer, and he has no remorse, and Dexter just wants to learn from this man. And one of the best episodes ever is when he is inside Arthur Mitchell's house and they're all having dinner, and a switch comes on for Arthur Mitchell and he starts swearing, and this scene is absolutely phenomenal. It completely makes your hair stand on end thinking, oh, what the hell is going to happen here? And Dexter unleashes on Arthur Mitchell, and really he should have killed him right here and right then, because what Arthur goes and does beautifully is take away the only thing that Dexter cares about, and that is Rita. He has a respect for Rita. You get to see Dexter fall in love with her, kind of, but in as much as he possibly can, and he knows that he is lacking, and he tries to respect her and look after her and be the partner that she deserves, because she's had a bad life and it's not her fault of what Dexter is and what he's become. And Arthur Mitchell takes that all away in one of the best finale episodes I've ever seen in my life. This was a cliffhanger episode. This was the end game, the penultimate, not the penultimate, the ultimate. You cannot get any better than this. This is the equivalent of when Negan smashes Glenn's head in season 7 of The Walking Dead. You are not going to make me any more surprised after what you have just shown me. And I wanted more, and what I got was season 5, and it is weak compared to this season. There is a song in this by Frankie Avalon called Venus that as soon as I heard this in the show, I have had on my playlist for at least 10 years now, because it reminds me of how good this program really is. The disturbing scenes of him capturing little boys, making them wear the pajamas and reliving the youth that Arthur Mitchell has had is absolutely, it's just breathtaking. It's so scary, it's so chilling, and this is why it's my number 1 season. It's just gorgeous. I didn't want it to end. I never do. And if I recommend this show to anybody, sometimes I say stop at season 4 and don't watch any more. You're not going to be any more entertained than you are here. So that concludes my list. What's your list? Do you agree with what I've picked? If you don't, I don't really care. Thank you.